Welcome back to the Coco Loco series. It's been a couple of weeks and the plants are very green, they're very healthy, and they already have their true leaves, so they're getting pretty big in a short period of time. And I already placed a couple of updates on Patreon. Our Patreon members get their updates a little bit earlier. The NPK value of my fertilizer is identical with the two, so both get the same fertilizer. The only difference is that one gets Organics, and we see a little bit of difference. The leaves are developing faster, the leaves are a little bit bigger, and they are more green than the right side. And the overall development of the plant, it's just a little bit faster on the left side. I didn't develop the Organic version to outperform that one, but I wanted to show the little bit difference between the two of them. It's very subtle. There's something that's called the root system, and that should be a very big difference between, because the left side contains funguses and bacteria and organic matter that should promote root development. Well, these plants are pretty much the same weight. This one is about 390 grams, 389 grams. This one is 390. This one is 1 gram lighter, maybe 2 grams. So they're pretty much identical in weight. The only difference is this one contains a little bit of Organic. It's not a full dose, but it's still something. There should be a difference. And as you can see, there's all root development all over the place. So all those tiny roots are developing, and that's the organic matter. It's creating an environment for plants that is more friendly for developing roots. It's not specifically for growth, it's more specifically for a good environment for plants to grow in. And as you can see in this one, there isn't any root development, so there's nothing. They still grow fine, but obviously there's a difference. The biggest difference between those two isn't the plant, it's the root system. It's the environment where the roots are developing. In the beginning stages, when you add some funguses and bacteria, it's more for developing root systems and healthy roots. And funguses create something called CO2, and CO2 is necessary for plant growth. Eventually there's enough funguses and bacteria to create enough CO2 for developing more and more growth. There is a little bit of difference, but it's not, it's not big enough for me to make a definitive statement that this one works better. However, when you check the roots, the ones with Organics all develop roots at the sides and they're already growing down. So all of them are getting 10 milliliters of the organics. I don't want to have any difference between them anymore because, well, there's no need for it. So all of them received 10 milliliters of fertilizer, and the next step is to turn on the fan. And the reason why is when the fan is turned on, it stimulates roots development. Because a plant is moving by the wind, it's want to secure itself by sending out more roots so it's sturdy and it doesn't get tipped over as easy. And it's just creating a little wobble. Actually, it's creating a lot of wobble behind there. As you can see, it's just moving the plants a little bit. It's not flipping them over. And because the fan is turned on, it will draw out the moisture from the cocoa. So within a couple of days you can fertilize again, or if you want to, you can add some water just to increase it a little bit so it doesn't dry out as fast. The small plants don't like when the humidity goes up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. I have a humidifier right there, and it's not turned on because the humidity is high right now because it rains outside. I live in the Netherlands, in Holland, and it can rain, it can freeze and snow, it can be completely dark outside, or it can be 40 degrees in the same day. Humidity goes up and down, and plants get crazy. I have a humidifier right there, and it's trying to keep it stable. Obviously when it's high, it's not, there's no way to get the humidity down, but when it's low it activates so that the grow tent, the humidity is stable, in my case between 55 and 65. I'm not growing very specific peppers that come from the Amazons or whatever, so the humidity can be a little bit lower, in this case between 55 and 65. However, when I'm growing peppers that are from the Amazons or very specific peppers, push a button and it automatically increases the humidity. Tip number 1. We have multiple plants in a container. Remove all the plants except for one and keep the biggest plant or the healthiest looking plant. And the reason why is there is something called competition between plants, and it's competition for light, fertilizer, water, and well, the container. You just want to have one plant in one container. If you just snip them and remove them that way, or you place them in another pot, doesn't matter, that's your choice. Tip number 2. When you're fertilizing plants, especially with cocoa, you can sometimes skip a couple of days and just add water. When plants are small, you can skip a couple of days with fertilizer. So give 1 day, skip a couple of days, just add water. Skip a couple of days and add water with fertilizer. Tip number 3. Don't use leaf fertilizer, so stuff that should be sprayed on the leaves, because the leaves are very delicate right now, and I've seen it a couple of times that people are using fertilizers that are specially developed for leaf fertilization. Yeah, it's going to burn the plants pretty quickly when they're very small. Tip number 4. Weigh the amount of water that you add to the containers. And the reason why is you just want to keep it wet enough, but you don't want to soak the plants, and I've seen it too many times, so I'm gonna say it a couple of times in the series. Be very careful with how much water you're adding to the containers, because waterlogging and drowning plants is a very serious problem, especially when they're very small. Tip 5. Turn on a fan. It doesn't matter if it's big or if it's small, but turn it on the lowest setting. And the reason why is just to create a wobble in the plant, and it will stimulate root development, and it's going to dry out the pots quicker, and by doing so you can add more water and more fertilizer fast. So it's all coming together, but a fan does a lot of positive things. It is going to take a couple of weeks before something has to happen, because these plants are growing and it's not very spectacular. Maybe I do a time lapse, but I don't know. However, for the people that want to follow this series, please remember to subscribe and press the bell icon just to get the updates when I place a video on YouTube or Patreon. And if you have any ideas about growing peppers, or maybe some advice or comments, just place it in the comment section, and maybe I place your ideas in the videos. So that's for now, so see you next time.